Mrs. White, thank you for your time today. Thank you for your distinguished service to our country and your willingness to come serve again. I'd like to talk a little about the potential for a political expenditure disclosure rule. Your spokesman, John Nestor, said earlier this week the timing of such a rulemaking, quote, will be influenced by the ongoing workload of Dodd-Frank and Jobs Act rulemaking, end quote. Could you tell us where does the political expenditure disclosure rulemaking rank in SEC priorities?
Again, the status of that is that it is the petitions we've received seeking that disclosure are being reviewed in the Division of Corporation Finance with a goal to determine whether or not to recommend the pursuit of any rulemaking. There's no proposed rulemaking being worked on now. Plainly, the Division of Corporation Finance has a lot of these rules, mandated rules we've been talking about, and so that's all I can say about the status. I haven't been given the results of that review, but no rule is being worked on.
Would such a rulemaking ever precede rulemakings on the dozens of rulemakings that have missed deadlines from the Dodd-Frank Act or the Jobs Act?
The answer is that the focus is on the congressionally mandated rulemakings. We have to be able to engage, not speaking about this one in particular, but with important discretionary rulemaking. But the focus, again, I've said what the status of that is. I mean, there's, the focus of CorpFin, which is the division that's reviewing these petitions, is on the mandated rulemakings.
You have, I know, many fine staff attorneys who are experts in corporate finance regulations and laws. I attended school with some, served with some, who were hired by your agency because of their expertise. My legal skills were such that I left the law and joined the Army and went to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you. How many experts in the mishmash of campaign finance laws do you have at your agency?
I don't know who might have specific expertise in that. I mean, sometimes people have expertise you don't know about, but obviously you're familiar with kind of the profile of expertise that we have at the SEC and that we don't have at the SEC.
Yes, they are very complicated laws because oftentimes they are simply complicated incumbent protection rackets that politicians in both parties who like to stay in office have passed. Getting on to the substance of a potential rulemaking like that, would it apply to corporate spending only, or could it potentially reach the spending of directors and officers in their personal capacities as well?
My understanding of, again, what's being reviewed are the petitions. I think what the petitions have sought is the spending by the corporations. But I mean, I believe that's confined to that.
Do you think it would be appropriate to require a publicly traded company to disclose the private political activities of its officers, directors, or other employees and agents?
Well, again, because that's, at least part of the subject matter, that's under review, not the precise subject matter. I don't think I should comment or prejudge till I have the benefit of the staff's review.
If you proceeded with the rulemaking, would that rulemaking be applied to labor unions?
Again, I can't, I don't want to speculate. Again, it's specific petitions are being reviewed. There's no recommendation. No one's reached a conclusion as to whether there should be any proposed rulemaking going forward. But I certainly can't talk about the dimensions of something that hasn't proceeded out of the review stage.
Do labor unions file any reports with your agency?
Specifically, not that I'm aware of.
No, me either. I must have been confused when I asked that question. They file reports with the Department of Labor, called a Form LM1, 2, 3, and 4. Are you aware of any efforts by the Department of Labor to impose similar requirements on labor unions?
I'm not.
Would any rulemaking by your agency apply to nonprofit organizations such as MoveOn.org or Organizing for America?
Again, I can't comment on what dimensions of something that I have no, I don't have the benefit of the review or any recommendation whether or not to proceed with any proposed rule.
I would assume that such a rulemaking would not apply to such nonprofits, since those are normally regulated by the Internal Revenue Service. Final question. Are you concerned at all about partisans of the president and the left using your independent agency to help develop a political enemies list of the president?
I am not. I think the SEC is an independent agency, and I'm a very independent chairman of that agency.
Yes, ma'am, you are, and I appreciate your service.
The time of the gentleman has expired.